topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Well, good evening to another fabulous conversation, dialogue, thought process, think tank, brain tank, opportunity, session. We're setting it straight with Miss Gray and my fabulous, awesome co-host, Miss Trey Abner, calling all the way in from Hampton, Virginia. I'm going to get her to Orlando soon enough. I'm going to get her, and we all going to be in the same space doing this show. That's gonna freak y'all out. And then also, hey Trey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you today?
I'm doing good. And of course, from the roundabout way, we got Miss Tommy. I think she's in town this week herself. But you never know with Tommy now. You never know, because hey, we got to keep up with her. Okay. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm here.
Oh, thank you. It's good to see you guys, and I'm glad that God is keeping you all safe from all hurt, harm, and danger. And of course, with our fabulous technician, producer, think tank commentator that's always in the background, Mr. DJ. We always give you a shout out as well. We're so thankful for you and everything and for your time. Tonight, we're going to talk about National Suicide Prevention Awareness, sounds and signs when awareness is not enough. Once upon a time, in a far off land, there used to be events, sessions, opportunities that we call prevention. And prevention is all about preventing something from happening. Well, back in the day, when you talked about prevention, it was just as easy as making somebody aware. I come from a funding world and where I learned how to write grants and provide, grant material, monies as well, to communities by the most fabulous agency in the world, because they could teach an old dog a new trick. And I'm a social worker by trade, but they recruited me because of my skill set, not even asking if I ever wrote a grant, because they knew that they were confident enough that they could teach me. I would learn no matter what. I would learn, but I need to take everything that I knew, because I came from a real deep and strict mental health background where everybody wanted to be in crisis. Early intervention was not an issue. We did some prevention, but I was mainly crisis mode when you work at a mental health facility, even if you have new individuals becoming clients because of events and things happening in their life. Anyway, so back in the day when I started this in the 80s and 90s, prevention was the thing. We wrote a lot of art requests for proposals out there on preventing a thing from happening. And you know what? Just in case it was already beyond awareness, well, we don't want to get any worse, so we could do some early intervention. We're aware that it exists, okay? But then it was beyond just preventing it because it was already happening. It was already increasing the data. It was already increasing in the statistical numerical bracket. So that's early intervention. So we created that and we put money in that. We already know this exists. We don't want it to get to crisis. So what we're going to do is we need to find agencies, nonprofit agencies out there that could do this work. Prevention, of course, you could do brochures, you could pass out tracts, you can go in and speak at anybody's group setting and talk about the signs. Okay, that was prevention, talking about the signs of it, what it looked like, what we knew back then. Early intervention is, okay, we are aware, we're already beyond trying to prevent it. It's already increasing here, just slightly. But if we do enough, if we throw enough at it, we will prevent it from going into crisis mode. Well, just in case you don't know it, we've been in crisis for over 20 years in every arena. And to me, I watched, it was last week here, the municipality folk, did their suicide awareness. And it was just, I guess they acknowledged people who have passed. I wasn't even sure. It didn't really kind of make a little sense to me. So I kind of didn't watch it because I didn't know what it was. And they did a small coverage just to say that they did something. And that's one thing about Orlando. Don't be in a hurry to move to Orlando. Okay, because Disney is in Kissimmee. It's not in Orlando. Okay, it's just down the street and make a right. All right, it's not in Orlando. So stop. I don't know why y'all are. Okay, that's another. Let me come back. So they did a little episode or did a little something on the news, and I sat there and I said, "This is a shame," because now we have people out here thinking that the world will be a better place without them. And they're taking their lives. And then in some cases, they're taking other people with them as well. So we are beyond prevention. We are beyond early intervention. And why is it awareness was never enough? It was not enough to be aware. Where do we go now? What do we do now? Here in Central Florida, we have well over 200 schools, elementary, middle, and high school. I don't know if there is an agency out there going into the school, talking to these young kids. I don't even know. What I do know is my colleagues here that provide individual and family therapy have closed up their offices. They're closing up their offices for several reasons. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to hear the ladies' impact, your views on prevention, early intervention, crisis, and why awareness is just not enough. Ladies?
Well, in so many instances, people have learned how to mask it, because a lot of times this person look like they're okay, but they're really not. And sometimes when you're not around people around the clock or the right time of day, you are never, they have masqueraded till you don't even know, wow. Or you get a sense of discernment of, she acted a little different today. What's going on? And when you address them, they say, oh, I'm good. Everything's fine. Blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. Or maybe I just feel a little tired today. You don't know. So can we be taught how to really recognize true signs without the signs? That's the question to ask. And it is said a lot of agencies that do help in so many aspects other than in a hospital setting. a lot of them are closing. And what can you do in that respect? And a lot of times there's not much funding in that direction. So how can that agency provide a service when they don't have the funding? Because regardless, in a lot of ways, that is a strong area that's been neglected or starting to be neglected. I'll say it that way. I ain't gonna say always been neglected, but they've seen people do better, but yet they still finding people dead. So, and like you said, Miss Gray, they their schools are here and they're building more. I just found out they're building another elementary school in Ocoee, not far from you. So, and building more homes and townhomes and communities. And I'm like, but are you ready for all these people? Because that's the question. Are you prepared for all these people and what it brings? What it brings. So, good luck, Mayor, and your commissioners trying to make room for services like this, because it's going to be needed. It's going to be needed because even though people are moving to Disney World or Orlando, it's a life of depression as well as a life of happiness.
And just, I like what you both said. And I was sitting here thinking, so if someone is contemplating committing suicide, somewhere there's a feeling of hopelessness. And I often wonder if the person who is contemplating taking their life along with someone else, if they've said anything to anybody else about that, their feelings. And if they did, what was the response that they got in return? Oh, you're just joking. You're not going to really do that. And so, which are bad words to say to someone that's even saying that, because you don't know where they are. And I remember having a conversation with someone and just bouncing things off. And sometimes, ladies, you have people that you work with that are just not motivated. They just don't feel like doing anything. Just don't want to do anything. Don't It's not of their interest, and so I try to avoid statements like, "What is your purpose in life?" Now, Ms. Gray, you let me know, you're the therapist. I try to avoid what is your purpose, and like, because I'm not a therapist, so but I don't want it to delve in with them thinking, "Why am I here?" And it leading to something else with, okay, I opened the door, but I never showed them how to close it, or what are they thinking once I leave my session. And so I don't ask that, what is your purpose in life? I might say, what is your goal? What would you like to do? But some people don't. If you don't know your purpose, then you feel like you're purposeless. You lack purpose, or lack uh, not being valued. And so I think too, people are afraid to, or leery of going individually to places of business where they're seeking help, counseling, whatever the situation is. But it thinking about the way to address it, because there are limited services, it will behoove a church, school, places of employment, as part of the orientation, introduce that. Coping skills, if you're finding yourself this. So it's not targeting anyone. So typically, if you're going to, is it an employee assistance program? Now you've opened up to human resources, you open it to your supervisor, hey, I need this. And some people are not equipped, whether they're administrators or not, to handle, what do I do with this now? They're going to EAP. And so, but if you do it in a manner where everyone is getting the same information, then it doesn't seem like, okay, I got you, I know you, this, that. It's across the board. If you find yourself, and maybe having that in a packet, an orientation packet, coping skills, resources, how to address, and also training the hires up how to address that as well, whether it be in your church faith-based organization, simple like you talked about, Ms. Gray, case management 101. This is not in my realm, let me move it to somebody else. Because the good thing about providing services is you have to know when you can't provide that service. You have to get out your way and say, okay, you're telling me this, let's move it to someone that's more equipped, and stop thinking, oh, I can handle it all. No, you can't. You can't, because you can do a disservice. And so knowing when to step yourself out the way to make sure people get what they need to get. And and that's my take on it. I think if you address it blanket wise, you can collaborate or coordinate care with other organizations. Hey, can your organization come and talk about mental health? It's not singling out a soul. And maybe quarterly or every 2 months, have something like that, a refresher, just so people will kind of get it. And having resources or tools or stress ball, whatever you need to have, as a way of doing that, because you don't know, and people are not willing to come, because look, if I tell you that, then you're going to think I'm too incompetent for my job. Let's face it, you're stigmatizing me now, and what is that going to do for me later? And all I need is someone to talk to. So I think it's just it's conversations needed with the powers that be, and just try to implement that where people are feeling more comfortable with saying, I'm just not feeling my best today.
Wow, both of you said some powerful things. I totally agree with that. That's the awareness piece. Okay, we can go back to every school, I feel, should have orientation day one. Once that student is dropped off, the parents leave. Parents can go to another part of the school. They can have the same orientation. We're going to talk about the fact that we know that this is kindergarten and this is big for you. We know that this is 6th grade and this is big for you. This is your last year. This is 7th grade. We know that things could be hard. We know this and we know that, but we want you to know that we are here. It won't even take 20 minutes. It won't even take 20 minutes. And you'll have all the resources, some brochures here and there. You can have an agency that you're networking that's been approved by the district. This is ABC agency. You're going to see them walk in the halls. They're going to have on their business T-shirts. Feel free to talk with them. I think starting off the bat, walking in, we know that this is big for everybody. This is big school. And whether you're 9th grade or you're in the 4th grade, and just having that 20-minute, while at the same time you got parents in another building, say, look, we know this is hard. Some of you didn't want to leave your babies. You wanted to walk them to the classroom. Now we're stopping you at the gate. We just want to say thank you so much. But we're here. If you need us, this is ABC organization. They're going to be walking the halls. They're going to be available. They split their time between us and our feeder school. That's another key. Because these students are going from elementary, they're going to a feeder school unless the family move. So network with the feeder school. I did that with PTA. I went over to the middle school, and I say, hey, I'm Miss Gray. I am the PTA president over at such and such elementary. I know most of my students are coming here. How's your PTA here? You need any help? Oh my God, thank you for coming. We don't have one. Can you help us start one? Just like that. Just like that. But it's connecting the dots. It's connecting. Then I went over to the high school, introduced myself, and said, anything you need, I got parents coming at you, and this is a rough bunch, or they've been here, they were raised in these schools, so they know protocol, and whatever the case. And we made it light conversation, but at least we orientated. And I let them know, if you need me, here's my number. I'm just the PTA president. But my students are heading your way. My 5th graders will be coming to you. So I think orientation is going to be a big key, because right now the world is in we're in crisis mode. We're in crisis mode everywhere, on all levels. I've got fellow classmates now, new classmates. I looked at their faces at our town hall meeting. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be, whew, they looking kind of heavy here, because they're working full time. Most of them are in private practice, and now they're like me. They're getting their doctorate degree on top of that. So they already got this frown on their face and everything. These are the people supposed to be helping y'all. Okay. So, it's everywhere. So now we got that done. All right. So now we're going to do orientation. Now we got to find the agencies and nonprofit agencies out there that can do the work, that can show up, come on the campuses, divide themselves. I think they should take a feeder school pattern. The agency ABC, you've got these schools in District 5. We've got an elementary, we got 2 middle schools, and we got 2 high schools. Can your organization handle those 5 schools in this district? Then we got District 41 over here. All we got is 2 elementary schools. Can we have somebody just to be available? Once kids see people who are saying, I'm here to help you, and give them a little grab bag. That's another thing too. You can't just go and approach people and start talking at them. Have some candy. Have some little gift bags. You've got their attention then, because they got to come by and get the gift bag. Say, and have your cards in there. Have little basic placard cards that talk about prevention. These are the signs. And like you said, Tommy, we really don't know conversation, because the folks that I know that have killed themselves, I didn't hear it. And that was pre-becoming trained and even post-becoming trained. I'm a little more alert to certain things because I look at the body language now. And then Trey, you were saying something in the beginning about, purpose. Yeah, take purpose out of the conversation. Because I didn't know what my purpose was for a long time. And sometimes I still don't. So no, purpose you're right. What is it that you like? What are your favorite colors? What is it that when you were a little person, what did you always want to be? I know you had a dream. Well, one time I want to be a police officer, another time a fire person. I said, okay, so and so what are you doing? Well, I didn't make. Why? Can we go back and let's try to unravel that? Let's take a segment in your life. And this is what I found by the leading of the Holy Spirit has worked for me when I'm counseling people. Let's take that little piece, that little square.
Ms. Gray, you said something very important.
Yes, go ahead.
I take it a little further back than where you were. You saying the orientation in the different schools. But when they giving away them book bags, have it set up right there. Because a lot of times, so often, parents just come in there, get the book bag, and they gone. And like myself, when I did it for my church, we would give out over 100 book bags. But in order to get a book bag, you had to either sit and listen to that elementary school, that middle school, that high school, virtual school, and college prep. And on top, you had to sit through one of them and then go through the tables we had. And we had the health department from Orange and Seminole. We would have the library from Orange and Seminole. We would have a mentoring table for girls. And then I didn't never have any boys situation. So I would have the girls there, as well as offering what is at the different, because we had at the time junior colleges, we had Valencia and Seminole. So, and one time I did have a university there, but at the same time, you got to go to that table. Like you said, that EPA, that parent needs to go to that table. And like you said, have the tracks, have the signs. Talk to somebody. If you don't get a chance, pick the brochure up and have the candy or whatever. Get their attention. If you can't read it here, you can't, go home and make sure you read this little flyer. Don't let it be too wordy and too long, but there, as well as the orientation, because now it's reiterated at the entrance of school so that everybody can. That is an awesome idea. But on top of that, like you said, those services are closing. So do we have enough people to work this? And some of them, if they're going from school to school to school, so it's a lot of variation, but great ideas. Somebody need to be listening to this that is in those positions to make these decisions and implement. And it's still not too late, because after December, you got another chance to approach, or either right before they leave for Christmas break, because that's a very depressing time for a lot of people. And here with the housing crisis and job situation, and okay, we got to do something. So I didn't mean to but what you said was just it was rich. It was something that somebody really needs to step in and make a difference. That person would always get my vote because they stepped in and made a change. And that's what's needed.
I'm sure a friend of mine wouldn't mind me sharing her story. I think her granddaughter was at a cheerleading camp this weekend here locally. And she says she came out, my friend came out, and she goes, she heard these people yelling, and she's looking around. It was at First Baptist Church grounds. And two cheerleaders went to fighting. And then the captains tried to get into it. And she's like, oh, okay. What? And parents couldn't calm nobody down. And so she raised her head. She said, excuse me. So I guess she got the attention of the commissioner of the cheerleading camp. She said, excuse me, can I say something? Please let me say something. She goes, yeah, please say something. She goes, okay, I think y'all need an intervention right now, because I don't know what this is that will make y'all come out here where we're supposed to be competing and y'all fighting. And then right there, it was a time for some conversation. She said, and you know where we are. We're on the campus of First Baptist Church. And y'all out here fighting. What I wanted to point out was Michelle stepped in. She didn't think about it. She said she had to diffuse it as best as she could. And then she said, when are y'all meeting again? Is at rehearsal? Because this is what we should be talking about at rehearsal, not here at competition. She said, can I come? I'll be there anyway, but can I come and do an intervention? Because we're going to talk this out. So parents, you come. Everybody needs to come. And then she got that approval. She ain't getting paid to do that. She's a grandmother who said, you know what? No, we ain't going to have this. Let's talk this out. And just in that short spiel of time, she, well, so-and-so don't listen. And the coach, I guess the higher grade cheerleaders, they ain't listening. Just in that brief moment. So people ain't listening to nobody. So we talked it over a little bit. Go ahead, Trey.
No, I'm just going to interject when you say, so that's communication 101.
101.
It's tying everything in when we talk about people not expressing their feelings, inability or unwillingness to communicate, people not adhering to direction, lack of communication. Because part of communication doesn't mean you're talking all the time. Mm-hmm. Part of communication means you're listening and trying to understand. Mm-hmm. And so everybody can't talk communicatively. Somebody has to be listening and observing and trying to find some interventions or some measures. But I think too, and that's the key across the board, communication one-on-one. And so even with sometimes when I'm teaching the kids about how to manage their angers, we use simple phrases like "I feel," "This makes me feel," "When this happens, I feel this way," and it's simple words. It doesn't take a whole lot. "I feel angry when you do this." Okay, well, you feel angry when I tell you you need to do your chores, but I understand validating your feelings, but let's understand your chores need to be done too. So it doesn't take away the feeling. It just puts in some of the communication, because things are going to make you angry. It's all right to be angry. That's a healthy emotion. It's what you do with it when you get to that level and being able to recognize. And I try to teach my clients that I recognize when I'm feeling angry, because stuff started moving around. I feel my getting warm. And then I know, but that comes with years of me trying to do it. Okay, stop. Let me think. And we do stop, think, act. Stop in the middle. Think about what you're doing, the consequences, then act. And hopefully by the time you get to act, you'll recognize you've kind of processed some things. Okay, instead of me hitting, let me just go over here and take a brief walk and count to 10 and then come back and do it. But it's communication. But if it's not taught, then that's with children and adults. Flying off the handle because you can't have your way. Come on. We all can't have our way. But what do you do with it? And I think too, in the school, somebody coming and communication one-on-one. And I know teachers don't have the time for that, but that could be part of the orientation. In this school, this is what we're going to use. And have it on the walls. Kids look at walls all day long. It doesn't have to be long. It can be cartoonish. And stop, think, act. Bullying is not, cool. People who bully have low self. It's just something to kind of call it out, because who wants to be known as low self-esteem? A bully. Come on now. We know bullies. If they're bullying, you got something that you don't want people to know about you. And it's not pulling anybody out. It's giving the person whose intention is to bully a time to think about this. They're going to think about me like this. So let me just say something kind instead of doing or saying something that's not kind to other people.
And another thing, now we're talking about communication one-on-one, but we're also we have to, its partner in crime is listening one-on-one. Listening. And as social workers, we've been trained to say, what I hear you saying is that what you just said? Even when we are documenting, we cannot say a client is angry because they're doing, no, client appears to be angry because of this action or this nonverbal cue or this verbal cue or this non-body language event I'm observing. We have to be very, so now I got to listen to you. I want to sit and I want to hear the why, where and the where. Where do you think this comes from? Because also my assessment, I'll say, is mom, especially for my anger management folk. So is mom angry or daddy angry? Who's carrying this gene? And they're like, oh yeah, it's my daddy. Oh my God, it's my daddy. And all his sisters. Okay. All right. And are you comfortable around that? Because when you see them, at least two of them getting together, no, because we know there's something going to jump off. Somebody going to jump off. So it's making them remember, but also that feeling. When you're around these people, how do you feel? Or when I teach them an intervention like breathing, so they could just stop them in their track and do your 3 breaths, how did that make you feel? You got to put people back in touch with their feelings. Because like you said, Trey, they just mouth off and they just spout off. And it's like, wait a minute, I just heard on the news. So this is a sidebar. Some father just shot his wife and stepson because of they were using the lights. They were using the lights too. They had the lights cut on too much. That can't happen in one night. That had to build up over time. Y'all not cutting these lights off. And we just had a $300 bill or $400 bill. Somebody just said they got $500 bill. I can't afford this. I keep asking all of y'all, cut the lights off. Now, wife, I don't know the situation. I don't know. I don't know if she was the one cutting the lights off. If she was telling him, "No, leave him alone. He don't mean no harm. You leave." And I don't know if it was jumped off. But now I just know there's a young man who's heading now. He's probably going to head get the death penalty because he just shot and killed 2 people over a light, cutting the lights off. Now, see, for my crew, I hit them where it hurt. Well, what we having for dinner? I don't know. But I keep telling y'all, cut these lights off. So next time I have to tell y'all, I'm not going to repeat myself. I'm going to give y'all a bill and y'all split it 3 ways. And we're good. You know, you got to kind of know when you're dealing with your kids, especially adult kids, you kind of, you can't talk to them in the kind of way you can't, knock them upside the head anymore. So you have to be able to say, I'm going to get you where it hurts. I'm going to get it where it bothers you a little bit. And it click. I'm in the dark. So wait a minute, let me turn the TV on so I can see, Getting back to this, awareness is not enough is my overall opinion. It's my opinion. This is Miss Gray talking. I'm a clinician. I'm a community activist. I am, I'm a prayer warrior. I am coming at all angles of this, whether it's in the church, being aware that somebody has a problem or somebody's going through or somebody's feeling that they have no more hope. Just being aware of it is not enough. And then you're trying to point to and refer them to resources. Right now, Orange County does not have a social service directory. Seminole County has one. Osceola County has one. But if you come to Orange County looking for a directory of services, it don't exist.
You will see, you said a lot. You pinpointed where the root of it came from, how that child was taught, because they're only going to mimic what they see. And if that's how daddy and his sisters react to, I guess that's how I'm supposed to react to. And so you found the root, you were able to find the root cause of where that came from. So, and then do you ever, because I'm not a clinician, do you ever ask the question, where do we go from here now that we see this? Do you ask that question?
At the end, the way my assessment is set up is basic demographics. Then I start talking about any type of substances that you've used, or if you've been in treatment, or if you've been in counseling. Then I work it way down to, let's talk about your childhood, and I'm making light of it as I'm turning the page and writing down the responses. So how many brothers and sisters, mom and dad, are they still alive? Were they married? See, those are key pieces there. It's fragmented for a purpose. Well, my daddy had outside kids. See, I'm already getting information. Already. So I got actually 5 brothers, but 2 of us are from the same mother and the other 3 are from different moms. Okay, and I'm making a little tree. I'm making a little bracket on the paper so I can connect it back. Do you have any children? No, I don't have any children. Describe your childhood in 1 sentence. My childhood was, and they'll give me that answer. I said, okay, cool. All right, here we go. And then I talk about your religious orientation. I talk about looking at your mom and dad's side of the family. I'm talking about your first cousins and your aunts and uncles only, your grandparents. Anybody with serious mental issues or addiction to drugs or alcohol. Check this out, y'all. They'll say no. And I'll give them an example. No matter what their it depends on what their ethnicity is. If it's somebody Hispanic, I'm not talking about Uncle Pepe getting his drink on at the reunion. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about cousin Penelope, who, if she don't stop, we know we're gonna find her in the street. And they're like, and normally they'll tell me no. Later on, they'll say, well, my uncle did die of a drug overdose. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I had to turn the page back and write that down. And then I go, have you ever been married? And when you've been in a relationship, when you got into a little heated argument, or disagreement, were you the one that laid hands or did the other person lay hands? That tells you something there too. Can you be triggered? So I'm listening and I'm writing down. And then the last page is your high school. Are you working right now? The last question I ask is, what brought you to me? Why were you court ordered for me? So I put the pen down and I sit back in my chair because I said, now I need you to talk to me and I just need to listen. What brought you to me? I also asked, what are your hopes and dreams? Any high school diploma, GED, high school diploma, any college? I did some college. Why didn't you finish? And what were you going to be when you grow up? It's always an icebreaker. What are you going to be when you grow up? What were you going to be? So that's how that usually flows in the office. And as you can, and just by y'all nodding, you can see how we could connect dots. I draw a big picture, and this is probably one person I'll never see again. So I had to teach my students. I taught you all that, Tommy. If you have a client and you may see them one time, you've got to get trust, you've got to bond, and you got to get in their business to help them in hopes, because you're going to open those can of worms and then you're going to try to close it, and you give them resources if they need it. So again, awareness. Go ahead, Tommy.
No, why I ask that, because so often I see children, they start, I'm gonna give a prime example. You know how when you go to Chuck E. Cheese and you get ready to go, and when they get ready to go, they ain't ready to go because they having so much fun. They want to storm and kick and and that be like, no. And so I have learned with my nieces, nephews, my daughters, my granddaughters, or grandnieces, or whatever. They don't mind going with me. But we sit down and we talk before. Like you said, communication is the key. Listen, when we go, we're going to have a good time. When the last token is gone and we done turned in our token to buy whatever little gadget you think you might want. But when I say it's time to go, and if you got to feel like you got a clown, just understand, I ain't going to stop you. I'm going to let you do your dance, your song and your dance. And when we leave, just know you won't be coming back with me. And I've never had that problem. Now, I can't speak for when they're with their parents, but I can only speak for when they're with me. And I set those boundaries. And too often in our lifetime, parents never set or stuck to the boundaries that are set forth. And then, like you said, that not so good example in front of them by storming or being the aggressor and talking the loudest or whatever the case may be. So in that respect, that child is going to mimic in school, on the cheerleading squad, on the basketball court, wherever they are. This is the behavior they're going to exhibit because that's what they've been shown. I ain't going to say taught. I'm going to say shown. This is how you deal with it. And it's just sad that growing up, we had the uncles that fuss and talk loud, the mamas. But that mama always say, you walk out this door, all this stay in this house, and don't you act like that out here in the streets, because I will get you. We weren't allowed to mimic what was going on in the house. So yeah, we have to. Wow. I'm reading that comment too. And it's like,
thank you so much. Yes.
Yes.
And you weren't, not looking. I know, I understand, but yeah, how you were raised was how you were raised. And nobody knows your history until something happens and you have to share that with somebody. Thank you so much and welcome. Thank you so much. But yeah, this, going back to when awareness, just being aware is not enough. We've got to put action, but at the same time, we need all wheels moving in the same direction at the same time. While you want to be aware and have a news clipping, a news piece, well, what are you doing? What are some of the numbers right now in Orange County? We're a big county here. What are some of the numbers right now? What are you doing? What agencies are still available out there in Orange County? Are they just adults? Are they for children? Are they for teenagers? What are we doing? Because like I said, as a clinician, people are retiring. They're closing their offices. Some people are not. Insurances are leaving Florida, have left Florida. So we've never been reimbursed appropriately. Many of my colleagues are going to private pay. They'll try to skim it down as much as they can. I really think they overcharge too much personally, but that's okay. That's coming from somebody who I just increased my private payment to $75 an hour. I've been $35 an hour. Because it don't take all of that. It don't take all of that. Let me hear. I'm here to help you to be a better person. So while you're trying to refer out, make sure we've got referrals out there. And this is to my mayors and my commissioners out here. Make sure we've got that you're building the infrastructure, because the infrastructure is gone since 2020. And we need insurance. Make sure the people are getting paid appropriately. Or y'all have commissioners, y'all have discretionary funds. Y'all have a bank. Pay a nonprofit to come and do these things that is capable of reaching districts and the schools within that district. Okay? So I have to keep putting it out there, because everybody, I go to the state of the county and the mayor was talking about it and how all this pomp and circumstance. And I'm like, yeah, but do you know you don't have any therapists out here? But it wasn't a Q&A. It was just, we want to let you know what he's doing. And then, people are running for Senate and all this kind of stuff. But what are you going to do? Because you don't have none. I met with a commissioner person. My commissioner, she didn't win. And I met with a representative. And my thing was to him, do you know that there are no therapists out here? There are no therapeutic services. They're not enough. And he's like, I had no idea. I said, y'all, when you get in office, I think you just do a quick, hey, if you provide this service, let me know. So we can create some sort of directory, but there's not one for Orange County. Now, what we're going to do these last 2 minutes, I know we're going to talk about for next show, financial planning, but I want to continue with this conversation a little bit more and add to that. Then we're going to talk about the financial planning during these times, really, because in October, the first Monday in October, I've got a finance guy coming on. Stated he knows stuff. And what should we do? Should we be saving money? Where do we invest the money? He is really good. He loves the Lord, and he knows what's going on. So, I want to kind of give you a segue into that, but I want to continue the signs and the sounds of somebody who are not feeling good about themselves. And they do say certain things, but we don't really, because they don't put it in one big sentence, or they don't shout it loud, you'll miss it. But it'll just be something small, like, I'm kind of tired. I'm just tired. I'm tired of everything. I'm tired of my job. I don't like my job. And they'll bring it right down to ground zero. And I know we only got a half a minute left here, but they'll bring it down. So there are some signs and sounds. So please join us next week. Same time, same station. Thank you all so much. Ladies, you all be safe out there. DJ, you do your thing. God bless you guys. And please be safe. Take care. We'll see you next week.